What if one of the biggest diet beliefs in the world might not be completely true? A shocking new study claims some meat eaters may actually live longer than vegetarians. For years, people have argued about one question non-stop. What diet actually helps humans live the longest? Vegetarian? Vegan? Mediterranean? High protein? Low carb? Everybody seems convinced they know the answer. But now, a massive new study from China is creating controversy online after researchers discovered something unexpected. Some elderly meat eaters were more likely to reach 100 years old than vegetarians. Yes, you heard that correctly. But before people start celebrating with unlimited burgers and steaks, there's a very important catch most headlines are leaving out. And once you understand the full story, the results become way more interesting than they first appear. The study that shocked people. Researchers in China analyzed data from more than 5,000 adults aged 80 and older. The information came from one of the world's largest aging studies called the Chinese Longitudinal Healthy Longevity Survey. Scientists compared over 1,400 centenarians, people who lived to 100 years old, with thousands of people in their 80s and 90s. And then they looked closely at their diets. What they discovered surprised many researchers. Among older women, those who regularly ate meat appeared to live more likely to reach 100 compared to vegetarians. Instantly, headlines exploded online. Meat eaters live longer. Vegetarianism linked to shorter life. But the real story is far more complicated because the results came with a huge catch most people ignored. The important catch. The study did not find that eating meat automatically makes people live longer. In fact, the biggest factor wasn't meat itself. It was body weight and nutrition. Researchers discovered that vegetarian women who were underweight were less likely to reach 100 compared to meat eaters. That's the key detail. Underweight elderly women often struggle with low muscle mass, weakness, nutrient deficiencies, and frailty, and that's dangerous during aging. Scientists found that underweight elderly women who ate meat daily had a 44% higher chance of reaching 100 compared to vegetarians with underweight. But here's what's interesting. Among people with normal or higher body weight, that difference mostly disappeared. And vegetarians who still consumed foods like fish, eggs, or dairy had similar longevity rates as meat eaters. So the study wasn't really saying meat is magic. Instead, it suggested something more important. Older adults may simply need enough protein, calories, and nutrients to maintain strength and muscle as they age. Why muscle matters more than people realize. As humans get older, the body naturally begins losing muscle mass. This process is called sarcopenia, and it's one of the biggest reasons elderly people become weak, frail, or vulnerable to falls and disease. That's why protein becomes critically important later in life. Protein helps maintain muscles, bones, immune function, and overall strength. And some scientists now believe many older adults may actually need more protein than current health guidelines recommend. This is where meat often enters the conversation, because meat contains complete proteins rich in essential amino acids. But that doesn't necessarily mean people must eat large amounts of meat. Other protein sources, like fish, eggs, dairy, beans, tofu, nuts, and legumes can also help maintain muscle if diets are balanced properly. The problem happens when older adults become undernourished, especially if they lose weight unintentionally. The obesity paradox. Now here's where things get even stranger. Scientists have observed something called the obesity paradox. In younger adults, excess body fat is usually linked to worse health outcomes. But among some elderly populations, having slightly more body weight may actually improve survival. Why? Because older adults with more body reserves may better survive illness, injury, or nutritional stress. Meanwhile, being underweight in old age is often associated with frailty, weakened immunity, and higher mortality risk. That's why researchers believe body mass index, or BMI, played a major role in the study's results. In simple terms, the issue may not have been vegetarianism itself, but whether older adults were getting enough nutrition to maintain healthy body weight and muscle. Not all meat is the same. Another important detail often ignored online: not all meat affects health the same way. Processed meats like hot dogs, sausages, bacon, and heavily processed deli meats are often linked to poorer health outcomes. Large amounts of red meat are also associated with higher risks of certain diseases when consumed excessively. But moderate consumption of lean proteins, fish, poultry, and balanced animal-based foods may affect the body differently. This is why nutrition science becomes so complicated. Human health depends on far more than one single food. Sleep, exercise, stress, genetics, income, healthcare, lifestyle. All of these influence longevity. There is no single immortality diet, and scientists themselves admit nutrition research is one of the most complex fields in medicine.